in. Welcome to The Truth Behind the Truth. Behind the Truth. Thank you guys for tuning in with us tonight as our usual time frame, coming to you from the East Coast at 9 p.m., Central Time 8 p.m., and from the West Coast 6 p.m. We want to welcome our Facebook family, our YouTube family, Instagram family, and everybody else and all the other families that are being a part of us. Again, we always want to welcome our UK family and as well as our TikTok family. So we have all these families. Now we need these families to keep sharing. Okay,
most definitely.
So our family can keep growing, So guys, we do want to encourage you guys, please share, like, get it out there, get the word out there, talk about our shows. There's so much information out there that we put out there in the airways for you guys to help enrich and better your life,
And don't forget, what's the day today? What's the special occasion for today?
Yeah, we'll get there in just a second.
We're going to get there today, but it's very important.
very important thing, an event that has occurred today. And shout out to President Biden for doing that. But before we do it, I'm going to say hey to Harold real quick. And then we'll talk about that before I bring our wonderful guest, Bishop Jim Twilley, on tonight. But go ahead, Harold. How you doing, bro?
I'm good. I'm just getting back from Miami for my birthday. So it's good to be back.
Yes.
I got some new dreams and visions. I need to get me a spot in South Beach.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, see, that means you're going to be good because you'll be, huh?
I said new goal.
New goal. Yeah. Well, see, you'll be out here because you got to have a place out here too now. I mean, come on.
Right.
You're the Southern California guy. You gotta have a part of that as well, But where life is going to carry us, you won't have a problem about having a place in South Beach and in LA. So, that is for sure. So, well, I'm just excited about all that. Really, really going. So, did you get to see any sites while you're there?
Yes.
I saw a lot of sites.
Okay. I bet you did.
I was introverting. I call it.
Okay, all right.
I went solo, so it was really nice to get away by myself.
Okay.
And just do the things that I wanted to do.
Okay, gotcha.
Got up when I wanted to get up. I went and ate where I wanted to eat. I went
gotcha.
Did all the things that I wanted to do. It was me just introverted.
Gotcha.
And
go ahead. I'm sorry.
So it was nice.
That's good. Did you? So I noticed you posted about the vegan salad.
Oh, I had the best vegan.
It looked really good.
Yeah, I had. They have so many great vegan spots there. I mean, just really. The one that I posted, it was a whole vibe. They were playing 90s music. They were playing SWV and.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, it was a whole vibe. So it was awesome. I really.
Yes,
that's good. That truly good. We're working on trying to become veganist. Veganist.
Listen, we've been trying.
We're
definitely trying.
Okay.
We started with our list with veggie pasta.
Spaghetti. So good.
And and the veggie burger.
Not the veggie, the vegan one, Beyond Meat. So he made a great spaghetti with just the veggie noodles. Wow. So not the true process, and then the Beyond Meat. Yeah. It was really good. I was I could do that. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I didn't miss anything in that regard. So we've been doing the Beyond Meat burgers, things like that. So trying to integrate that. The juicing is going to be a little bit of issue for me. We'll talk about that off camera.
But they now got a vegan lobster.
Oh, I did see that.
That is interesting. I saw that on my timeline. Like, that is really a lobster. I'm like, that is. Ooh, I got to taste it to see what it is.
Yeah, I know.
Almost everything you can find: vegan crab cakes, vegan fish.
I know. I was like vegan chicken nuggets. I mean, got all that stuff. Yeah. But anyway, so we wanted to bring out the point. Hey, Burnell.
Hey, and hey to everybody else. Hey to everybody else. Will and everybody else.
Yes, thank you guys for tuning in tonight.
Yes.
Well,
Car Chronicles.
Car Chronicles. The Car Chronicles. But we want to take a moment to give a shout out to again, we said earlier at the top of the show, President Biden for making an official day of June 19th being Juneteenth as an official holiday now. So we're very excited about that. and hope that we all can integrate, as Americans, and embrace the idea of this holiday and understand the significance of the importance behind it. But it's just not. And here's the thing I'd like to say, and then we're going to go on with bringing our guests in, is that it's just not a holiday for African Americans. You understand what I'm saying by that? But it's a holiday that can be celebrated and should be celebrated by all. Because the one thing about it is that if you embrace and celebrate it by all, then you understand that the struggle that the African American experience was up until that point. So I encourage everybody, embrace it all. Find out something different you don't understand about. Maybe this is a way that you can embrace the African American culture a little bit different and integrate it. I mean, hey, you may like pasta one way, and they they like ribs another way.
Yeah, celebrate humanity. I mean, instead of people coming out of bondage, that should be a celebration within itself. It's a celebration of humanity. Somebody regaining their humanity, their full person, the human body.
Absolutely.
Taking ownership. That itself should be a celebration that everybody could connect with, because everybody has been in some type of bondage,
right?
Either physically or or in their mind. So it's in a way that it should be a celebration, to relate to.
That's true. I totally agree.
We all want to be free. We all want to be free.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes, Harold.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Hey, Linda. So, but yeah, it's great. Maybe we can integrate that. Might be a little bit of discussion we're having with Bishop tonight. We'll see how how the flow of the energy goes, with that. But anyway, we're going to get him on. Okay. Yes. Without further ado, hey, he's all of our pastor, and Dallin and I affectionately, and Harold's at one time by video, or by TV. But he is a special part of our show. He is so enriched in knowledge and prophetic, in Bible, in life, and just has a way of just bringing truth behind the truth, in and of itself. So tonight, he's going to share about one of his books tonight. Of course, as you guys know, that we're in the series of the Writer's Page. So he's going to be sharing about one of his on one of his books. That I'll let him tell you about that when he gets on. But other than that part, now, hey, we're glad you made it. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll be back up with Bishop Jim Swilley right after this commercial break. Happy birthday, Harold.
Somebody in my deal. Maybe I'm in somebody's deal. And I like the Louis Vuitton cake. Thank you.
We figured we get the veggies involved. You know what I'm saying?
You make a seasoned gentleman feel so special. Thank you.
Exactly.
So much.
Yes.
Exactly.
Oh, and congrats, Parnell, on the new podcast that is coming out. The Actors Podcast that he's now joined. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
Yes. And speaking of podcasts, you know that Ish and I are going to be working on making The Truth Behind the Truth, our shows as a podcast as well. So we're going to be podcasting all over the world, even more so. So yeah, that's coming, guys, and we'll tell you about that very soon about the Truth Behind the Truth podcast as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, without further ado, let's get him in here. All right, our friend, our beloved, my brother, his brother, everybody's brother, Bishop Jim Swilley, guys.
Woo! Woo!
Yeah.
Hello. Happy Juneteenth.
Thank you.
Blessings from ATL. Good to see everybody. Everybody's looking good.
Thank you.
Like you got on a Louis Vuitton shirt, Bishop.
Burberry.
Burberry. Okay, Burberry.
Get it right, Bishop. Burberry.
Louis Vuitton's my luggage. Burberry.
Okay.
All right.
That's
first class. Yeah. I like that.
I know that is right. That is so true.
You have to say it with a British accent. Burberry.
Burberry. So how's life treating you?
It's all good. Life is good, one day at a time. I enjoy it all, celebrate every moment. And it's a great honor to be with all of you gentlemen again. Good to see everybody.
Thank you. I mean, it's such an honor to have you back with us tonight. I mean, we were so inspired by the last time we were here. We kept talking about it. We kept running, but show after show after show was like, you remember when Bishop Jim said this, and Bishop, So it was, and I think through that show, honestly, you became another a viral pastor to a few other people that kind of mentioned it after the show.
Oh yeah,
they were like, "Where is his church?" So, but
as you dropped a whole lot of nuggets. You dropped a whole lot of nuggets on us.
Exactly,
a whole lot of nuggets.
But I think when you created Metron, the involvement of Metron, you knew that just wasn't a single place, but it was a global experience. And that's the beauty part of it.
We're about to celebrate our 7th anniversary. It's hard.
Wow.
7 years old, but it sure
is.
I can't believe the way time flies.
We're
actually through 2021 and people still obsessing over 2020.
Right. No, you're right.
We're
That's
close
true.
To 22 as we are to 20.
Right. You're right. We're almost halfway past 2020. I mean, really, at the end of the day, I didn't think about it till you said that.
Keep thinking it's a new year and it's already halfway over.
Yeah, that is so true. Yeah. That is so true. Wow. Yes. I mean, I, as we talk for pre-show, I know that one of the books you're going to introduce and talk about typically celebrating around pride and things like that and helping encourage, everybody in the LGBTQ community. Right. The one thing that if I can ask, if you could elaborate on, I think that you were going to talk about it on the last show, but I think it's kind of apropos for where we're going tonight, is the mentioning of the Tree of Life and your explanation on the Tree of Life in the garden, how that involvement of the moving forward of the mindset, and I think that mindset was where people get locked, and need to be free from, and I think that maybe open the pathway as to talking about your book after that. Can you elaborate on this a little bit?
I do talk about that a lot. The Tree of Life is kind of a unifying thing because you can find people that are sort of traditional Christians that know about it because the end of the book of Revelation, the Tree of Life is what's promised. It's not heaven. It's it's back to going back full circle to Eden, and but then you can talk to people who are New Age or whatever, and the Tree of Life is just a very universal kind of concept. I believe the scriptures are inspired. I believe that also they have to be rightly divided. Mm-hmm. So when I talk about Adam and Eve being in the garden, Adam and Eve, I don't want to argue with anybody about it, but it's more of an allegory. It's the earth is obviously more than 6,000 years old. If you just go to the Grand Canyon and you see it would take like 10,000 years for the Colorado River to erode through that much rock,
right?
Thousands of feet down. So clearly the earth is millions, possibly billions of years old. That doesn't mean that the Bible's not true, but that when people try to make it fundamentally understood, they get into trouble because it's not a science book. My point is that the narrative of the Judeo-Christian theology begins with Adam, and the name Adam just means blood of God. And so when he talks about putting them in a garden and giving them two opportunities to create, one is through the paradigm of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, one is through the paradigm of the tree of life. There, in my mind, they're really two different ways of seeing the world, two different ways of going through life. And if you see everything through the binary tree of the knowledge of good and evil, everything is an either or. Everything is, and some of that is true. Like in Taoism, you got the yin and the yang, where every black has a white, every hot has a cold. So there is a certain truth to that aspect of it. But the idea of the tree of life is that our separation from God, the idea of the separation from God was all a mindset. When Adam and Eve eat from the tree, in chapter 3 of Genesis, the Creator comes to walk with them in the cool of the day, as He always had. There was no. It wasn't like He said, "Oh, they've messed up, so I can't talk to them." He asked, Adam, where are you? And Adam says, well, I hid from you because I was naked and I was afraid. And the Creator says, well, who told you were naked? In other words, what got inside your head to make you think you were not divine? Because the original intention was that the Elohim said, let us create people in our image. King James says man in our image, but the Bible was written by men to men. So the better definition is let's make people like us. And so when he says I was afraid because I was naked, that's the whole thing about naked in that sense is not nudity as we would think of it. Naked was transparency. It's naked was I don't have any mask to hide behind. So if if I'm naked, then I'm afraid. It's not. The idea, if you see pictures of Adam and Eve after the fall, you'll see them with a fig leaf over their
right, exactly.
And that wasn't what they sewed together. It was tunics. It was like a facsimile of trying to feel the glory of God that they felt before they perceived themselves through the tree of the knowledge of good.
I like
so
that.
if you see yourself as less than because somebody told you that,
then
you're going to judge everything. You're going to create everything through that paradigm. The tree of life just says, no, I am who I am. It's like, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm saying that I am who I am. And I wrote a meditation earlier today about, there's a meme that I saw and it kind of inspired me to write. It says, somebody needs to hear the part of your story that you're ashamed of. I thought that something about that really resonated with me, because sometimes we just want to tell the story, the edited version. And when I tell my story, I'm always going to spin it to present it the best possible light.
Right.
But you have to also look at your scar. You have to look at your nakedness. You have to say, you have to psychologically take your clothes off and say, this is who I am. This is what I look like. I'm not psychologically photoshopped. This is the real me, and it's okay. I don't have to believe that I'm less than. I'm not afraid. So religion created all of these fig leaves that people try to hide behind.
Right, like that.
These acts of righteousness, these rites of passage. If I'm baptized the right way, if I live the right way, then I'm going to be right with God. And all of that is just a perception. So when I talk about the tree of life, I'm talking about the way you perceive, like even the way you look back over your life. And so like at the end of when Moses writes Genesis, his whole piece about created in 6 days, then resting on the seventh. It's symbolic, and it says that he looks back over the 6 days of creation and he declares it is good. And there's something very powerful about looking back over your life, over everything that you've done with it, everything that you've created, and not just saying it is what it is, but saying it is good. It doesn't mean you haven't had problems or difficulties. We all have. But you look at it through the paradigm of the tree of life and say, no, all of it has served to make me who I am. I've learned from my mistakes. my enemies have made me stronger. I've found what I can survive. And if you see everything through the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you judge it as these are the good things that happen. These are the bad things that happen.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the tree of life, you just say, no, these are just the things that happen. Mm-hmm. And they all served to make me who I am today. I'm smarter because of them. I'm more comfortable in my skin. I can walk around life naked. And again, I'm not talking about physical nudity.
Right.
And really, I think
transparency.
I think what you want to talk about pride, that's what pride is. Pride is saying, this is who I am, and I am not just accepting it, I'm actually proud of it. I'm not the whole concept of pride is for people who have been marginalized, who have been told you can't be a part of the mainstream, you can't partake of the other parts of life. Your sexuality has to go underground. You can't, if you're committed to somebody, you can't be married to them like the normal people are. And so I was sharing this with somebody. I did some interview last week. I don't remember. They were asking me about previous mission work, and I said, well, I used to, before I came out and before I went through a lot of changes, I had churches in the Philippines. I had ministries in Uganda. We used to do a lot of ministry in Peru, and particularly with Uganda. I mean, Uganda is very homophobic, typically.
Right.
It's dangerous. I mean, gay people have been murdered. They've been martyred. So
worse than Jamaica.
Uganda is really bad.
Okay.
And a lot of it's, or it has been historically. But my point is I still hear from people that were connected with me before I went through some changes about 11 years ago. And somebody sent me, this has been 3 or 4 years ago, that right in downtown Kampala, they were having a pride parade. Wow. And it was small. It was very scaled down. It wasn't like what you'd see in LA or Atlanta. But when I looked at that, I mean, it really moved me to tears because I thought that's some serious courage when you live in that culture to walk down the street and say, this is who I am, and I'm not afraid. And I thought that's very empowering because here's the thing about, and then I'll shut up. You can ask me whatever you want to ask me. But the thing about fear, everything from religion to the culture to whatever wants to bully you into hiding, like scrambling through the Garden of Eden, trying to find some fig leaves to put together to hide yourself. And it's even significant that today's Juneteenth, because it's a way of saying, no, you cannot ignore, no matter who you are, you can't ignore this part of American history. This is not just Black history. This is American history. These are people who experienced a certain thing. And yes, it is significant that you've made it a federal holiday because it equates it with the other federal holidays. It's a demanding, in the same way that pride is to say, no, you cannot marginalize me. My history is as important as your history. My experience is as important as your experience. That's why I'm even careful how I phrase things, because like Ken and I have been married nearly 6 years, and I don't call it gay marriage. It's just marriage.
Right.
We're just two gay men that decide to be married, but we're married like any married couple is. I mean, it's not some special treatment. Gay people aren't asking for special treatment. African Americans aren't asking for special treatment. They're just asking for, you read it, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
That's
all
right.
created equal. It's not anything special. It's what everybody else got just naturally. So if we have to make whoever we are, we have to make some noise to say, no, you have to, if you're not going to respect me, then I will demand your respect. If you're not going to see me, I will demand my visibility. You will not hide me. And that's what all of that, I mean, the tree of life is much more, it's got a lot of roots to that.
Right,
tree.
exactly.
But that's basically what I'm thinking about when I talk about it. It's a way of approaching God and your own life and your own divinity and the way you create and the way you go through life, seeing everything through the tree of life as opposed to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
Wow, powerful.
Thanks for coming. Drive safe. And think I just ate up all your time. We'll see you next week.
See you next week, right? Before we dig into the book, we're going to talk about. Do you guys have any quick questions you want to ask?
Yeah.
Real quick, Harold, you want to go first, Harold?
Well, look, I've been over here writing all these notes.
Okay.
Because, I didn't grow up in the church, but I went to a church a couple of times, and I remember them talking about the scripture, naked and not ashamed, and they always made it seem as if it was physical. And I love what you said about it being emotional, the releasing and being vulnerable. I mean, that just really resonated for me because it never made any sense. I'm like, were they walking around with clothes back in the Bible days?
Right.
I just never got that. So I appreciate it. I appreciated that.
Right. Thank you.
Parnell?
Oh, no. I mean, it's just with the talk about Juneteenth and critical race theory being out there so much in the public. I mean, it's and of course the anniversary of the massacre at Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It seems like it's finally America's like, listen, we have put this conversation off long enough. It is time to have it, and let's. I think I said before, it's like we've never had a discussion since slavery ended to talk about how do we move on from that. It was just like there were Black people didn't want to talk about it because it made it.
Oh, we lost it. But I can agree with Parnell, and I think that is the reawakening that us as an American society is coming to is slavery. The talk of slavery.
Well, it's interesting because some of the same people that have said, good Lord, what do they want now? I mean, slavery ended in the 1800s are the same people that were in the Capitol on January 6th flying the Confederate flag. So I'm like, well, it's not over for you. So obviously, obviously there's still a conversation that needs to take place. It's like here in the South, I'll hear people say, hey, I'll hear some white people say, the Confederate flag for me is not a hate symbol. It's just history. I'm like, when did you become such a historian? The Confederacy only lasted, slavery was since 1619, but the Confederacy only lasted for 4 years. Nirvana lasted longer than that.
Right.
And I got shirts that are considerably older than that.
Right.
And so if you're that much of a historian, a Georgia or Southern historian, how come you don't talk about Cherokees or Oglethorpe or all these other things? It's isn't about history. It is a hate symbol. And I think where Parnell was going with it is there was never any real closure to that whole thing. And I'll tell you something else. This is not what you asked, but I was thinking about this.
Sure.
Because in this conversation, the whole thing comes up every time about reparations. And I used to think I'm for it. I'm not against reparations, but I used to think, well, how would they do it? I don't even know how logistically, how would you do it? And then when I saw the way that they did these financial disbursements during COVID, I thought, well, it can be done. It is doable. It's like I got money. There was a direct deposit. Somebody found out who I was. And so I think this is, that's not my area of expertise. I don't know how it worked out logistically, but I thought, well, when you need to come up with some money for something, you figured out a way to do it. You figured out a way to get money to people. So even if it's nothing but a symbolic gesture, it's the fact that when slavery ended, African Americans were promised 40 acres and a mule. Well, now that's kind of irrelevant. Most people are not agricultural. So, all right, well then do something. Just don't ghost me and pretend like it didn't happen and take it out of the history books. It doesn't mean that I've heard other white people say, I'm not against all this stuff talking about it, but I feel like it just gets people stirred up and it makes people angry. And I'm like, they already are stirred up and angry. You're just not hearing the conversation about it. What people are saying now is let's have a civil conversation about it. And so, what has happened in the last, especially 4 years is, you see a step forward and 2 steps back and a step forward and 2 steps back. And good things happen and bad things happen. And you have to look at that through the tree of life and say, look, this is all part of the process. There are a lot of white people who enjoy white privilege and don't think it exists. And if you don't think it exists, that's the clearest indication that you're enjoying it.
You're right. Okay.
Because you don't see it. Like, where is it? Where's my privilege? Like, no, it is a real thing. Stop being so fragile. Nobody says you invented it. They're just saying it's a real thing. Just acknowledge that it exists, and that people who are on the other side of that are having to say some things that you're never going to have to say. That's precisely the benefit of privilege, is because you don't have to have these conversations. It's like going back to the thing about pride. Early after I came out, I went to this pastor's conference, and somebody had taken me there, and I was kind of just keeping a low profile. Most of these people didn't know who I was, and I was going through enough drama at the time. I didn't need to invite anymore. But we were having this quiet time, and this pastor came over to me. So I just want you to know, I know who you are. Watched your coming out video and everything. He said, I'm not against that. He said, I just have a question. Why do you have to have gay pride? He said, we don't have straight pride. And I said,
oh, wow.
Are you serious? And this is back before marriage equality.
Right.
I said, every day of the year is straight pride. I mean, like
every day of the year.
I said, you could meet a woman right now, and 30 minutes from now, you could be married to her, and there'd be no questions asked. I said, I know gay couples that have been together for 40, 50 years that can't even share property. They can't even be married.
Right.
Something that you completely take for granted. So yeah, just like there will probably, at least for this foreseeable future, there will need to be a Black History Month until our history books are rewritten. There will have to be a gay pride, probably indefinitely, because when there has been a group of people who are in the mainstream, they forget that not everybody else is enjoying the freedom that they're having. So you have to remind them, you don't have to be uncivil about it, but you can say, no, we're here. And Juneteenth the acknowledging of it. It doesn't fix everything, but it's a very positive move. And the same way with pride, it's very necessary, and not let people shame you into not talking about it, because it's a wonderful thing to be proud of who you are.
Amen. Amen. And to all our viewers, I know CK4, girl, you are really responding and really agreeing with everything that is going on. If you have some questions, please write questions, and we'll try our best to read them. But you know what, that is everything you're saying, Bishop, is just on point. It's really what I would call society really needs to hear what you're saying, especially coming from your voice, because I'm telling you, people sugarcoat too much of everything these days. And you know, cancel culture, you've been through it. You've been through cancel culture before there was a cancel culture.
The church invented cancel culture.
To that. I mean, if you want to know cancel culture, be ostracized from a church.
Yet I'm still here, baby.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I have not been canceled.
Right. Exactly.
But you know what?
No, I know what you're saying.
But you know, we're talking about pride. But even in that moment when you came out to the world, when you had that CNN interview and you came out to your church and your family, was there a moment where, I mean, how did it feel to come out of your own nakedness in that moment?
Wow, good question. I like that.
Part of it was like an out-of-body experience, but I had lived in my head for so many years. Like, when I go back now and look at that sermon, I didn't even know what I was going to say. I just started talking, but it was so organic to me. I didn't have to have bullet points because I already had thought about them 100 times a day my entire life. And it was interesting. I noticed in the little ad you did, you showed a shot of another book that I wrote about 10 years prior to that called Keeping It Real.
Keeping It Real.
And when I look back now, I was kind of, in a way, coming out in that book years before I did. It's because I wrote a piece in it about how when I used to work with my dad, I was his associate pastor for about 5 years, and we were right in Midtown Atlanta. You know, Atlanta's a gay mecca. And that's back when people were doing a lot of conversion therapy, what we call deliverance. And I said, I never initiated this, but we used to take people through that, like, you know, casting demons out of them and all kind of stuff. And here I'm knowing that I'm actually gay. And, people would ask me to pray for that. And I want to go, hey, by the way, this doesn't work, but okay. You're always going to be gay, but okay. Because I never imagined I would say that out loud. I mean, that's, the company line. And what I said, even 10 years before coming out, I said, all these years later, every one of those people that we supposedly delivered are openly gay. The ones that we married off to the opposite sex are all divorced. And I said, the bottom line is, if you're gay, you were born gay. And I said, if it's a conflict with your faith, and you've got to choose what you're going to, you either have to live celibate or figure out whatever you're going to do. But as far as your orientation, it's not ever going to change. It's not a lifestyle. It's not a decision. It's not an abnormality. It's just part of nature. Being gay is not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a thing. It's like I think I said this last time I was on there, there's over 1,500 species of animals that have same-sex pairing. It's like, it's nothing new. It's just a part of the population has same-sex attraction. It's just, it does not threaten in the same way that things like Black Pride, Black Lives Matter, Juneteenth, all these things, in the same way that I want to say to white people, like, this is not threatening you. If somebody says Black Lives Matter, they're not saying that white lives don't matter. That's beside the point.
Right.
They're saying it's like when Jesus said, "Blessed are the poor." Nobody in the audience said, "Hey, Jesus, blessed are everybody." No, that's a moot point. He's talking about the poor. Idiot. Yeah, we know white lives matter. I'm pretty sure that's been long established.
Right.
And the same thing with straight people feeling intimidated by gay people just owning their life. It's not, gay people aren't against straight people. They're not against heterosexuality. Heterosexuality is alive and well. It's not being threatened.
Right.
And, I want to say to white people and to straight people and all these people that are so fragile, it's like, you need to relax. There's enough to go around. Just because gay people want the same thing that you enjoy, it doesn't mean they're taking it away from you. You're not, we're not trying to do away with white privilege as much as we're saying, why don't we have human privilege so that everybody can just enjoy the privilege of being alive?
Right,
but
absolutely.
Until everybody is treated equally, there's certain conversations we're just going to have to keep having and keep bringing it back, and people are going to get tired of hearing about it, and that's just too bad, so sad. You have to keep saying your truth until people hear it. That's why, and I may have said this on your the last time we talked too. I learned ever since from George Floyd on, and I think it's interesting that happened during the pandemic, because while everybody was having to really go home and isolate and take inventory of their life, it should have made everybody rethink a lot of things. It gave people a chance to rethink a lot of things. And I've said this over and over, and some people kind of didn't get it when I said it. I said, look, if you'd asked me a decade ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, are you racist? I would have been like, hell no. I mean, I would tell you my pedigree of I've grown up in a diverse world. My church is all that stuff. And now I'm more prone to say, man, I hope not. I don't think that I am, but I could very well have blind spots that I'm completely unaware of. So for me to make this statement to say, I'm not racist, I think is setting myself up for failure. I would rather say, look, we're all on a journey.
Involvement.
I don't think that I am. I don't think that, but to even declare that I'm not, especially in this day, at this time, I would rather just say, look, we're all learning. We're all, because sometimes people don't realize that they're homophobic, and they are. I know I have somebody I'm very close to that is straight, but their church is very affirming to gay people. And they've had some turnaround in their church because this pastor, because he thinks he can say certain things, like he'll he'll say something about, yeah, I looked at a woman and yes, she was pretty because there's no sugar in my tank, or I'm not lighting my.
Oh, wow. Okay. Uh-huh.
You can't say stuff like that. Those are homophobic statements.
Right.
What you think it's okay for you to say that, but it's not. You're still disparaging gay people, and it's cost this pastor. He's had to rethink some things. Like, no, you can't. There's certain things you can't say. In the same way that if you're a certain people group, there are certain things that somebody else in that group can say to you, and you'll be okay with it. Somebody outside that group cannot say it. That's true across the board.
Right.
It's, I've had some straight people who were straight allies who have taken some liberties, and especially in the early days, said certain things to me that they're kind of joking in a way. And I think, I don't like the way this sits. I'm not hypersensitive, but I don't, gay hate crimes are still a real thing. I mean, people like me, hurt people like me. So I'm not comfortable with you saying things like that. And so I think we're all on a journey. I'm a lot more cautious even about the way I joke about things. John, my most popular sermons were times when I would do,
The Color Purple. Color Purple, yes.
I would do it in the vernacular. I don't really do it now. It's because it's like we're in a different era. Like I used to use it as an icebreaker because I'm largely preaching in black churches, and now I'm like, this day and I'm not sure I'm comfortable because I'm coming from a place of affection.
Right.
I love that movie. I've seen it so many times I can quote the entire thing. But I think, I don't know, a lot's happened in the last year that's made me very cautious about even saying anything that could sound disrespectful, and that's a good thing.
Right, exactly.
Even something like in another way. You remember, John, you remember Leslie Brizendine used to be a part of church, and I think you're
Yes.
Again, Leslie's a big time feminist, and years ago I said something in a sermon about overreacting to something. I said I was just acting like an adolescent girl. I was just being a girl. And she came to me afterwards. She said, Bishop, I know what you're saying in that, but you've got a lot of girls in your church that are already dealing with, misogyny. And when you talk about in a disparaging way, you're just being a girl. And before she finished, I said, you know what? I totally know where you're going with this, and you are absolutely right. And I hear you. And I will never say that again. And I never did. And so sometimes you have to let people know, I know you mean well in saying what you're saying, but you can't say that. You can't say that to me, or you can't joke like that. You can't get by with that. And it's a good thing. It's a healthy thing. It's like, people can't be afraid of it. You gotta, we're in a time where awkward, unpleasant, uncomfortable conversations have to go on, or otherwise people are never gonna evolve. And that's why a day like Juneteenth is in people's face to say, hey, guess what? There was this thing that happened for a long time. Called slavery. And I don't think black people want to talk about it every day. But we also don't want to pretend like it didn't happen. You know what I mean? It's like, let's acknowledge that it happened, and we're all going to be better for it. Because otherwise, if you keep ignoring certain things in history, they repeat themselves. I mean, things have happened in the last 4 years that I never thought would happen in this country. That is terrifying. So you have to keep. I mean, even the very fact that you call your program "The Truth Behind the Truth," you have to keep embracing the truth as you see it.
Yes,
saying it.
Authenticity.
Because the darkness is always trying to come in, and you got to combat the darkness all the time.
Yes, I totally agree. I mean, this all what you're saying, what we're saying. I'm glad we did start out with trying to with the interpretation of the tree of knowledge. This is just so much that these are all of the leaves that are coming from the tree of knowledge. It's just so powerful in that. I do want to make a quick transition into just talking about your book and how it evolved. And unless you had a question, Parnell, real quick or anything before you make a transition.
I was so rudely interrupted by technology.
You were right in the middle of a great statement, and then you vanished. It was
Right.
crazy.
I know. It was like, and that's all I got to say about it. You know, but just to finish that thought that I had was just with talking about slavery. Like, Black people didn't want to talk about it because it made us feel bad to talk about our ancestors being held slaves. White people didn't want to talk about it because it made them feel bad about their ancestors having slaves. The only way to really get past it is let's talk, like Pastor was just saying, talk about it. Let's get it out there in the open, rip the bandage off, let the healing begin. But as long as we keep trying to pretend that the bad thing didn't happen, we never address it. It's kind of like you don't cure cancer by not ever talking about cancer.
Right.
You know, you don't cure the hatred. You don't cure it by never talking about it, pretending that it didn't exist.
That's true.
And I think one of the greatest, well, not the greatest, a good example was, I think it was Ben Affleck when he was doing that. Who do you think you are? And he found out that one of his great grandfather something was a slave owner, and he tried to ask them, "Oh, don't talk about that." And it's like, but your mother was a civil rights advocate. Mm-hmm. That would have been a perfect example to say, well, our history was this, but we learned and we grew and we evolved. And my mother was a civil rights advocate, and I learned from her, as opposed to being embarrassed about what that history was 3 or 4 generations ago. Exactly. And so now that we are in a time now that all this stuff is being talked about, that we're kind of like, listen, let's just finally have this conversation. We've got our young people who are going like, yes, why are we not talking about this? This is important to talk about this history that happened in our country if we're ever going to heal. I'm gonna shut up after this. Like, Einstein, same thing. As long as it's just Black people talking about it, it's never going to change, because racism is not a Black people problem.
Right.
Black people didn't invent it. It is a problem for white people to solve and have to say, hey, let's look at this ugliness. We have to look at critical race theory and understand why some of the practices that we have in our society exist. Understanding that the police brutality about Black people is rooted in police being a slave catching system that started. So that mentality is still there in the present day. That the redlining that happened is still there in present day, where people might need to be conscious of, well, why am I steering these Black people away from this neighborhood? Because something in me says, oh, no, you don't want to live there. That's a problem. Right. And we need to look at that history of that and examine it.
Right.
It's your original question. Is Tree of Life versus Tree of the Knowledge of Good and Evil.
Exactly.
Very briefly, there was, I don't remember the name. Thank God he didn't get killed, but it was several years ago in Florida. There was an African-American man the cops had drawn on him. He was sitting on the pavement with his hands up saying, I am not armed. Please do not shoot me. And this white cop still shot him. Now, he just shot him in the leg, but he still shot him. And they asked him, the guy said, why did you shoot him? He said, I don't know. I don't know why I shot him. It was like a reflex. So that shows you there is something subterranean. And until you address that, it's to what you were just saying. Jesus said, when you speak to the mountain, it will be cast into the sea. Right. He didn't say ignore the mountain. You have to speak to it. Wow. If you whatever you ignore in your life just grows and becomes more dominant. That's true. And talking about anything, it's not as fearful as you think it's going to be. You just start talking about it. Right. And it is what it is. And I mean, I've had some conversations even in the last 3 or 4 years that I thought, you know what? I thought I knew a lot about this, but there's some things I did not know. So I need to shut up and listen. Like, I know I'm talking so much right now, it doesn't sound like I listen, but I actually do.
But you know what? It's not
here to listen.
But you know what? It is so powerful. This subject is so powerful that this is also not only affecting America, but it's affecting that royal family over there in the UK. Don't you know that this is just as this thing about race is destroying them more these days than they understand. And I'm sorry to turn this into something. It is a random subject, but it's a powerful subject. Race has always been the issue in every society that we have ever learned. And the fact is that now it is not only a national thing; it's now a global thing.
Well, I'm trying to cut you off. So, wouldn't you agree? Well, let me say it before I say my point. I wanted to give a shout out to Linda and Tawana and Susan. They were all came together. I don't know if you caught that show, Jim and I, but what I did was called Sister to Sister. So we established a show that was a cross conversation between Black women and white women to have this very conversation for the challenge to be able to start happening. And it went well. And the challenge that they did. So I wanted to give a shout out to them, and I'm sure they're all doing the practice of keeping it forward. I know they're all watching tonight, and I really appreciate them even having that conversation because we needed to have it, and just as we're having now, it was a beautiful point. But speaking to that, you know what? This can go so deep, and I know I don't want to go that way tonight. Maybe we'll because I really want to talk about his book. Okay, yeah, I really want to talk about his book, and I know because we're very organic on the show. We're very organic, and it opens up a floodgate. So this is which is beautiful. But I think that after he shares some points of interest about the book, it kind of will integrate back into what we're talking about because the idea of racism, and you can correct me, this is a point I was going to make a second ago. It evolved from religion. You know what I'm saying? And it evolved from the practice of religion and what has been said typically through people through that. I think, Harold, you said that on the show some time ago as well, that it evolved from religion. So, but going into your book real quick and just the speaking to, again, as we said, in the light of the pride aspect of where we are, but it kind of integrating that into where we are at this point. So just kind of highlights a couple of points that you think that'd be important tonight, Jim, about that book.
Well, the number one rule of writing is to write what you know. So obviously my book's going to come from a theological background because that's my area.
Right.
And when I came out, this tapered off and finally quit. But when I first came out, I mean, and especially when I was having my little 15 minutes of fame doing all the shows, I kept a lot of stuff stirred up. So the hate mail from the Christian community just got oppressive after a while. It was just like, it was death threats and hate mail. And it was just, day after day after day, you wake up and you look at your email and there's 117 email. And a lot of them are positive, but a lot of them are just horrible. And so I found I kept hearing the same thing over and over again, the same stupid stuff said, the same 2 or 3 verses of the scriptures misinterpreted. So I thought I need to write a book and say my piece about this because I don't want to keep saying these same things over and over and over and over again. And, just stupid stuff like God didn't make Adam and Steve, he made Adam and Eve. Like, really, what am I supposed to do with that? Or the other one that's just BS is love the sinner, hate the sin. It's just it's a terrible thing to say because it's like a poisoned apple. It sounds loving, but it's a big time insult in there. And I used to get these letters from people. It's funny now when I look at it. The opening of the letter would be, "It's not my place to judge you." And then it would be like 2 pages of judgment. Like, okay, why don't you just end it with that opening sentence? Dear Bishop Zwilling, it's not my place to judge you. Sincerely. And but people are so prone to that. They don't even, you got to get to the root cause of why do people feel like they've got to, like if I had come out and said, hey, I know Jesus said to, feed the poor. And I've just decided I'm never going to feed a poor person for the rest of my life. It wouldn't have even been a blip on a radar screen. Nobody would have even responded. When I said I'm gay and I believe I'm called to God and I'm anointed, people's heads were exploding. Now, 11 years later, I will say this, things are light years better than they were a decade ago. I mean, I can tell, if you had told me when I came out that marriage equality would be, or that I would personally be married within a short amount of time to a man, I wouldn't have even believed that was possible. So I remember I was watching President Obama in an interview. It was before they did anything publicly, but I remember when he said gay people should be. It took him a minute. I'm like, where are you? And he finally did say it. And he had other fish to fry. He was dealing with stuff. But when he finally said that, in Proverbs it says where the word of the king is, there is authority. And I remember watching that. Once he said that, nothing had been changed legally. Mm-hmm. But once he went on record as saying that, I thought, oh, well, it'll happen now that it's been put out there. And it took a while. It had to go state by state and, all that. But my reason for writing the book is now, all these years later, when they haven't followed my journey and they're still, they write to me and they've got all these questions, I can say, look, everything that you're going to ask me, I've already written in the book. I'm not being dismissive, but let me just send this to you so that you can read this in your own time. I'll give you the links to some videos I've done, but I can't sit here and rewrite my book over and over and over again. And I've gotten to a place now, I hear from a lot of men, like I was 52 when I came out, and I hear from a lot of men who are 50 plus, who are gay, closeted gay, church world. And we may have talked about this before, but I think especially when a man turns 50, it probably is true for women as well. You take inventory of your life. You look at, if I'm entering the third act of my life, I need to decide, am I going to live out the rest of my time as myself, or am I going to keep living somebody else's idea for me? So I've heard from so many people over the last decade that just say the same things over and over again. This man, and you'd have no way of knowing who he is. I don't think he's watching, but I've never met him. I guess he saw me on Facebook. Gay man, married to a woman, writes me and says, my wife's leaving me and I'm really upset. So I said, well, just call me. So he called me and I said, I'm trying to figure out what you're upset about. Didn't you say you're gay? He said, yeah, but I don't want to be divorced. I want to stay married, and my church will never understand everything. I said, look, I'm not trying to be inconsiderate to you, but I've had this conversation so many times. I'm going to have to give you some bullet points and just save us both some time, because I'm anticipating everything you're going to tell me in the next hour. First of all, you're gay. It's fine. It's never going to change. You're always going to be gay. God doesn't care. God made you just like you are. Your wife did you a favor. You can still have some kind of relationship with her, but it's not just about you. She needs to go live her own life and not live in this, illusion of a marriage that y'all don't have. You can still be friends. The people in your prayer group are never going to get it. It doesn't matter. Just forget about them. Move on with your life and have some quality years that you can enjoy. And he said, oh, well, you just covered everything that I was going to talk to you about. I said, because it's universal. And it's not that I don't want to hear it. It's just that we're just wasting a lot of time. You could just go ahead and own who you are and start living your life. And yeah, there's going to be some people that aren't going to like it. They aren't going to get it. And it doesn't matter. Like, once you go ahead and live your life and tell your truth, the people who really matter in your life are going to adapt to it in their own way.
That's true.
And, they will adjust. And once you say it, you drive a stake down, and the world around you gets in line and deals with it. But as far, we can keep having this conversation. There was another guy, and I hope he's not watching again. I'm telling you about it. But he wrote me and he said, I feel like I'm dying. I just feel like if I could just have a relationship with a man, I could be so happy. And I said, all right, well, here's my number. Well, I look on Messenger and I see we've had this conversation like 5 years earlier. I see from the dates here. Didn't we talk about this 5 years ago? Yeah, but I'm just too afraid. I said, look, again, you're just wasting time. It's not going to change. It doesn't need to change. Right. You're fine. You're not broken. You're just gay. Just tell the truth. Give this woman who's living this life with you, you're doing her a favor. Right. And unless you both have some kind of situation that you've worked out and you want to maintain a marriage, that's fine. But don't say that you're not gay, because you are, and it's okay. And probably the people in your life probably already know it. You're all just living this this fantasy thing where everybody's acting like they don't know. They
Right.
probably already do know it, and you're doing them a favor when everybody can just say, "Oh, you know, I kind of always thought you were." Like, okay, I am.
Right.
You know, let's go get something to eat. You don't have to talk about it all the time, but if you keep, you know, skirting the issue, you know, you can't live in a lie. You know, the truth makes you free. It doesn't necessarily make everything easy in your life, but it makes you free. And if you are free, you can deal with the difficulties of life.
That's true. That's
you
so
know,
true.
it's like you can, once people can feel from you, they feel the energy from you that you're okay with yourself, then they start taking their cues from you. They don't even realize they're doing it. And that's why when I say that my hate mail stopped, I mean, honestly, I probably haven't had a homophobic letter in at least 5 years, maybe longer than that. I'd be so shocked if I got one now.
Right.
And it's because I just stopped letting it get to me. But back to your original question about the book, you know, once I said my piece in the book, like I've said everything about this I want to say. I don't want to talk about this all the time. If you really care about these scriptures, get this book and read it. And I'm not trying to convince you that I'm okay. I already know that I'm okay. I don't care if you don't think that I am. I don't care that you have a problem with it. It's not your problem with it. It's not my problem. And, you know, the thing I always say is once you stop bleeding, you stop attracting the sharks. If people think that you're not okay with being gay, they start picking. You know, honestly, it's kind of the same thing with racism. I know this is deep, but when you really are good with who you are, people around you have
all the time. I say it all the time.
I mean, I really do. I think we're constantly sending out. Like this in the Psalms, it says deep calls into deep. I think we're communicating this way, but there's also a subliminal thing.
Right, that's true.
If you're sending out feelings of unworthiness,
that's so true.
People will pick up on that.
That's
true.
They'll
start treating you like
I
you're
say
not.
It all the time.
I'm telling you, it's you know, believing under righteousness is not just about your relationship with God; it's your relationship with yourself. So, one thing that I've been asking a lot of interviews, people will say. If you could change it, would you? If you could decide how you are, would you choose to be straight? And I'd say no. That to do that would be to rethink everything that I am. Like I can't. No, I'm fine with being gay. Gay's awesome. I mean, it's like I'm not. That's not a. You know, that's not an issue with me. And you know, it's not a monolithic thing. There's no such thing as the gay lifestyle. If I go to Pride, there's people who are walking around who. You know, or their world is very different from mine. It doesn't mean that mine's better than theirs. It just means like, no, we're celebrating even in our sameness. There are differences in that, and even that's fine. But the fact that I'm here means I'm okay. I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm fine with who I am. I like who I am.
So, and I guess we'll kind of, if you guys got to, we'll bring this kind of to a close. I have a couple of points just for him to speak to, because Harold and I always talk about certain groups that are out on Facebook, and we always try to present things to help them evolve into a better place. What would you say to an individual, Jim, that is, they run back to the religious sector to get beat up all the time and not pursuing their authenticity? Or is it that they just kind of wake up every day seeing their life through the tree of knowledge of good and evil versus to embracing the opportunity of the tree of life?
Totally. And, you know, some people have asked me, what's the best part of being out? And I said, well, I guess it would be that God was always okay with me. This song and dance I used to have to go through, you know, trying to change, you know, I grew up doing this. I'd look at some guy and I think, oh, he's so cute. And then I'd be like, oh, I didn't say that out loud, did I? Oh, I rebuke it in Jesus' name. I take authority over it. I cast down imagination. It's exhausting. And when you find out, oh, that was a song and dance. That was a one-man show. I was performing it. Nobody's buying tickets, including God. And it's just so much. I mean, I don't know, to answer your question, until people just recognize how they have been lied to and call it a lie.
Yes.
They're just going to keep going back for more. It's just like it's a weird codependent thing. It's like women that keep getting into abusive relationships and have to cycle over and over. There's some people that like to be beaten up, and they go to church to hear how bad they are. And interestingly, the man who wrote the song Amazing Grace, he was a slave trader.
Right.
When he wrote the song was his mea culpa for becoming enlightened, when he said I once saved a wretch like me. Yeah, he was wretched. And he was owning it. He was saying, I've done a wretched thing that I now own, and I take ownership for. Now you've got all these generations of people who have sung that same song, and they've taken on his shame with his personal story. Right. And as long as you're ashamed of yourself, you're very vulnerable to people, barking scriptures at you and something. Now, like I've had certain passages of scripture in the early days cut and pasted to me about 5,000 times. And I think, really, I've been in the ministry 49 years. You think I don't know that those 2 verses of scripture that you are misquoting to me? I've written 3 books about that, and you're going to tell me this? Like, really? Like I used to get a lot. This is all gone now, but early on, if I ever saw a message from prophetess so and so, there'd be, I think, here it comes. Some prophetess, she's about to go all homophobic on me, and I would get to where I'd say, look, because she'd start quoting things that Paul had said. I'd say, okay, if Paul is our reference point for this conversation, why are you even talking to me? Because Paul said women should keep silent in the church and not usurp authority over men. So if Paul's our go-to guy for this conversation, you need to shut up. And by the way, how old are you? And then, I'm 23. I've been in the ministry longer than you've been alive. Paul said, rebuke not an elder. Why are we even talking about this? Why did you even write this email?
And to add insult to injury,
we're going to play Paul cards. You don't know what you just got yourself into. I'm about to go Paul all over you. You didn't know what you're talking about.
And was it from the King James version?
To prop up your homophobia, I actually know the Bible. Let's go. You really want to go? I don't think you want to.
Right.
And now they're all gone now.
No, but was it from the King James version you got this from? I'm just trying to, that's another one right there. He was considered the gay king. Now I'm just saying. King James
was buried. He's buried with his boyfriend. King James said, people say, oh, he wasn't gay. He said, the man's kisses were sweeter to me than any woman I ever kissed. I mean, dear Lord. Seriously. Oh, no, he didn't mean it that way. I'm like, oh, my God, really? He had 14 children. That doesn't mean he sired them all. I mean, I sired 4 children, and I was gay the whole time. I mean, it can be done. Right. It doesn't change your orientation. Yeah, James was. He was family.
I love it. Go ahead, Harold, real quick.
So Bishop, what is the name of the book? What's the name of the book, and how can
it's called First the Good News. That's the title. Then it's got a subtitle: The Positive Truth About God, the Gospel, and What It Really Means to Be Gay. It's on Amazon.com. If you just Google Bishop Bruce Woolley Amazon, you'll see all the links. I've written 16 books. I think 9 of them are still available. And also I've Jim Swilley Books. You can also get it that way. And it's on Kindle. It's on it's on Kindle. What's it called?
Fire? Is it Kindle Fire or
it's on
Fire? Okay.
So that's the name. Thank you for asking. But honestly, I will.
Uh-oh. Technology.
No, it's storming in Atlanta.
Oh yeah. Oh, there he is. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was saying, if I wrote that book now, I think I would even write it differently. I think it would be like I've even evolved in some of the things I said then, it's a good thing. I mean, we're always learning and growing, and I think maybe this comes with age, but now when somebody comes to me, when I would over-explain Bible verses to them, I would say, look, that's a waste of time. You're fine. You're gay. You're fabulous. God loves you. I mean, I could give you a lot of other verses of scripture, but trust me, I'm an elder in the church. I'm telling you, you're fine. Go be gay.
Go be gay. Real quick, part of it as we wrapping up. Did you have something you wanted to add real quick?
Well, I just listening to Bishop. I hearing about that of affirming yourself and stop feeding into other people's desire or need to put you down. I liked it so much, I made a T-shirt about it. What you say? It is not my job to make you comfortable with my life.
Exactly.
People stop bothering me.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely. Did you have something you want to add real quick?
No. You have said a mouthful, and
well, I'm going to talk a lot when you get to
no.
But just no more.
Well, I always say, Jim, you're always welcome to be. Even just to come back in the time.
Thanks for advertising the book. I've got a lot of them in storage.
Okay, good.
I'd be happy to move some inventory. Come on, let the Lord have His way.
Bye. Yeah, I know, right? We're gonna put it up on the page definitely for you guys to go ahead and get that, and to go to the link and get that book, because it's really, really a necessity, part of life. I have thoroughly enjoyed it, and please come back. You're more than welcome at any time. You can just come back to the fat with us on another show, in that. But I can say that again, I've been enriched. Yes. I'm sure you guys in the audience have been truly enriched once again. For this problem, man. I think he set out years ago to be a trendsetter, at the end of the day. I think what has evolved around him is the trends. You know what I'm saying? Because he, in my opinion, has made it fashionable to be who you are. You know what I'm saying?
Well, whoever you are, not just for gay people.
Right, exactly.
Whoever you are.
Right, whoever you are, to be fashionable who you are,
That's right.
And, even though I know you mentioned that you don't like bringing up the color purple moments or whatever the case may be, but,
I'm not doing it. You can see I'm not doing it.
I know. I got to do this part, okay, which I think represents freedom. Clearly freedom. When Celie left the house.
Oh yeah.
When Celie left the house, you guys know what I'm talking about. I may be poor. I may be of a different color.
I may even be ugly.
I may even be ugly. And
but dear God, I'm here. I love when she goes like that. Come on now, that's powerful.
But dear God, I'm here.
Yeah. No. Look, that's the book. Alice Walker's from where Ken's from.
Oh, really?
Yeah. All of her relatives are buried right there, and right there.
Oh, wow.
And I've been to. It's abandoned now, but the little church where she grew up, that the movie was based on. All of that's right there. Yeah, it's very. There's so much powerful stuff about God. The movie's a little sanitized from the book version.
Yeah, right. It is.
Yeah, that's a great. Yeah, that's good.
And the Broadway version is
exactly.
Exactly. I saw Jennifer Hudson, and I've seen it twice. I saw it in Atlanta before I went to Broadway.
Yeah.
Sat behind Jimmy Carter now.
CK.
All my life. Cheryl's going to go to the show with us next week, but anyway, all my life I had to fight.
Don't say. I got to go. You'll get me started on this.
We're done.
Well, anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning into The Truth Behind the Truth. I'm sure it was enriching and humorous and all of the things that empowered your mind, body, and your spirit. Bishop, hey, we love you. Thank you for being here. And hey, anytime, come and hang out. All right, please do. Y'all have a great night, guys. We'll see you next week. As Cheryl's been chiming in tonight, on CK, she will be with us talking about her book next week on the show. So we're really excited about that. Thanks again for tuning into what? The truth behind the truth. Oh, I'm sorry. Before we cut, I do want to give a shout out to my. I hate to be in a somber moment, but I do want to recognize my dear brother Andre Tango. And just in the transition of him between the time that we had talked about last week, and his homegoing celebration of being in Atlanta coming up on the 25th. For those of you that knew him, and follow the show or whatever, it is posted on Elvon's site, as well about the homegoing information. But did want to mention that again, Andre. Hey, man, you just gone too soon. Just really gone too soon, at the end of the day. But anyway, I still want to keep on another up note tonight. But guys, have a powerful night. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you right back here, same place, same time, with some more excitement on what? The truth behind the truth. Good night, y'all.